Hello friends, this is Dr. Amarjeet Kaur, Professor of Accounting and Business Communication at the Department of Management, Gurugram University, Gurugram. So it is my privilege that I am here with you to talk on a very important topic, intercultural communication, as part of our series on communication. So let's understand this topic in detail, that what is intercultural communication, uh, what are the differences between the intercultural, multicultural and cross-cultural communication, and how can we actually make this communication effective by understanding various aspects to it. So friends, this word intercultural has two things into it: the communication which is happening between different cultures and the communication itself, right. So that's what intercultural communication is. So to begin with, I will like to talk about culture first. So culture, as we all know, it refers to the set of values, beliefs and practices which are shared by a group of people, right. So what kind of values or the belief one has, and the practices which are carried in a particular group of people, that group is known pertaining to, or a group coming from a particular culture, right. So it's not one person, a group of people practicing similar belief system, similar practices, similar value system, that becomes culture. So culture is a dynamic concept which decides the course of interaction and changes over time. So culture is not a static concept, because it keeps on changing, it keeps on evolving, right. So it is a dynamic concept, and that's what it takes place into consideration when we are interacting with people. Years ago, decades ago, there could be different culture in a particular country or continent or state, but things have changed. Now people have become conscious about those facts, so those things have changed completely. So it is a dynamic concept, which means even for communication we need to know that what has changed or what is the current state of affairs when it comes to culture. Further, it is very pertinent to mention or to recognize that we generally participate in multiple cultures at different times and situations of our lives. So we are at work, we may have different kind of exposure to different cultures. When we are living in a community or in any neighborhood or in any city or a location, we may have exposure to a limited or different cultures. So it all varies, that where do I work, where do I stay, where do I travel, so at different point of time in our lives we have different kind of exposure and to different cultures as well. And the communication, so this was culture. Communication as a cultural practice is very subjective, and it is influenced by the practice or the experience of an individual, because when I am discussing communication in the context of culture, intercultural communication, so culture is a practice, and it is subjective. I may come from a particular culture, but I may not be practicing all what is been dictated in that culture or is assumed to be practiced in that culture, right. So it is subjective, and it is the individual's preference, and so it means even the communication need to be adjusted according to that. So first of all, we should have a clarity about the culture of a larger group, the culture in as a whole, and then the individual from that culture to whom we are interacting with. So this is the horizon of this intercultural communication. So each culture, for that matter, tends to promote a particular language, and there could not be single correspondence though. So in most of the cultures are known. We say the person is from Bengal, so they speak Bengali, they celebrate Durga Puja, they celebrate this thing or that thing. This person is from Punjab, they speak Punjabi, they celebrate Vaisakhi, they celebrate of Guru Nanak Dev Ji's birthday, like that. So, you know, the culture tend to promote a particular language. The Punjabi is known for the people who of Punjabi culture. The Bengali is known as a language for the people of Bengal, right? So, this the meaning of communication and its context, whether it is multicultural, intercultural or cross cultural, that gives us a perspective to understand that these various situations, whether this is a situation of cross culture or a multicultural or intercultural. So, means so the communication is taken in the context, it is not studied in isolation. So, we all come across unfamiliar cultural environment and in this direction, in this context, and having an understanding of distinction between cross culture, multicultural, intercultural communication really helps us to sail through the situation very, very effectively. Unless a person is sure about this situation which he or she is facing is from cross culture or multicultural or intercultural, so person may not be able to deal with the situation or communicate effectively in that situation, right. So, this was the background to understand what intercultural communication is. Now, I shall be talking about what is intercultural communication. So, the intercultural communication means an productive interaction between various cultures. So, the interaction which is taking place between various culture, it should be productive, it should be meaningful, it should be able to convey what is intended to be conveyed, right. So, if the message gets distorted, it means there is an ineffective communication. So, intercultural communication demands that the communication between various cultures is productive, though it can take place between individuals even with common language. So, first of all, let me clarify, it is not necessary that people who are interacting, they come from diverse culture, but they can't speak common language. They can speak common language, but but since they come from different culture, so that's if they are interacting between amongst themselves, it becomes a situation of intercultural communication. Let us take an example. Say for example, I am working with colleagues from Muslim family, from Hindu family, I come from Sikh family, right. So, we three, let us say if there are three of us, we three are from different cultures, but we all can converse in Hindi or in English. So, when we are communicating with each other, this is a situation of intercultural communication, right. When language is common, there could be a particular language which is spoken at the home of any of us, right. It could be Punjabi, Hindi, or it could be Urdu or some Sanskrit, that is fine. But if we know a common language, if three of us know a common language and the interaction which is happening between us is through a common language, it would also be a case of intercultural communication. So, what is important, the people conversing are from various different cultures or from diverse cultures, and they may know a common language, they may not know, right. So, language is not a consideration to decide this is an intercultural communication or not. So, intercultural communication arises when different people or group of diverse culture gather, convey information correctly, effectively and skillfully in a manner which is acceptable to groups of diverse opinion, right. So, a group of people who are from diverse cultures, if they have gathered, if there is some occasion when they have gathered together, so and they have to convey some information, if they are able to convey that information correctly, effectively, skillfully, right. And when I say effectively, skillfully means the other party, the other side. If I am saying something and you are listening to me and you are from other culture, so if you are listening to, or you could gather the idea effectively, what did I say, and you accepted it, wholeheartedly, without any question, without any concern, without any question mark on the message itself or understanding of that message. It is going to be considered as intercultural communication. Now, intercultural communication, it involves a very deep level of connection, understanding and respect for other cultures, which means it leads to very effective communication and is premise for this type of communication. What does it mean? As I said, intercultural communication involves a deep level of connections, understanding and respect for other culture. So, people who are from diverse culture are interacting, may know a common language, may not know a common language, but here the premise is they have deep connection and understanding and respect for the culture. Let us say if we have Navaratras beginning day after tomorrow, so and I am conversing with someone else, or we are having lunch together, we at work. So, if other person knows it's a Navratra going on, and generally people who observe this fast, they do not eat garlic or the onions. So, it is having the understanding of the culture of the other side, right. Same way, if my friend, my colleague is from Muslim culture and she is observing Rosa, so I know she is not taking water, or she need to have this thing at this time, or so this, if in my communication I consider that cultural differences and I respect that, then it is what would be taken as intercultural communication happening effectively. If I do not regard that, it is not going to be considered effectively. Okay. So, intercultural communication requires not only the linguistic knowledge, the language, but the cultural training in such a way that helps to adapt to unfamiliar environments, especially from the cultural perspective, and not only from the vocabulary or grammar, from grammar perspective. I just need not to be knowing the vocabulary other culture use, or the grammar they use. I need to know, I need to have the cultural training in my mind, that this is how they practice different, this is what they practice different, and this is what they mean for this word, for this this term, etc., etc. So, here the intercultural communication is not requiring that to know that the linguistic differences or the vocabulary differences, grammar differences. No, it is a cultural training more of than the languages, right? To adopt any unfamiliar condition or environment which happens during communication, one shall be able to respond effectively. You may not be aware of all the practices the other culture have, the person you are interacting with. You may have some kind of clarities, maybe very good clarity or understanding, but there could be something unexpected, unknown to you, which emerges during the conversation. So, you should be able to take it the right stride and respond effectively, and that can happen only if your mind is trained to respect that culture. So, let us talk about certain examples, because it may sound little difficult to grab this term. So, let us say one person from Sikh or Hindu family conversing with a person from Muslim family is an example of intercultural communication. A woman receiving order or giving order to a man is also an example of intercultural communication, right? An American, for example, and an African, they two come from different culture, they are sharing their views on a particular topic. Even this is an example of intercultural communication. For example, in our own continent, a Chinese politician discussing something with an Indian leader, right? Even that would be, because they both may or may not know English language, but they are familiar that he is an Indian and so he has this kind of culture. More precisely, Indian may be an Indian from a particular religion. You know, Sikh culture is different than Muslim culture from Hindu culture. So, a politician of a country conversing with the politician or the leader of the other country is also an example of intercultural communication. So, when intercultural communication takes place, there are certain do's and don'ts to make it effective. So, what are the don'ts, which are more important than do's? Do's, though, it's just the respect for others, is more than enough. Acknowledging other is more than enough. But what are the don'ts of intercultural communication? The first thing is that we should never abuse tradition of the other culture while communicating. So, the clear no is to avoid abusing traditions of other culture, right? That is the first don't. The second don't is do not use slangs, idioms and other regional sayings. There could be certain sayings, certain idiom. For example, we have so many idioms in our own country. शाम का भूला, सुबह घर आया, like that. चोर की दाढ़ी में तिनका. There are so many sayings, so many idioms which we use. The other person may not be familiar at all. That belongs to you, your country, your Panchtantra stories. If we start saying some story, some slang, which slang means jugaad, for example. Jugaad is something which is used very commonly in India, though it has become so common and popular that it has become kind of international term now. Most of the people know Indians for having a good hands for jugaad, concept. But nevertheless, this is a slang, and there could be so many more slangs which are peculiar to your own country, your own region, right? That they are regional. So, slang, sayings, idioms. Not only that, forget about the other country. Within the same country, there could be certain idioms, certain slangs which are used, which are, pertaining to a particular area, geographical area of the country. Punjabis, for example, may have a different slang than Haryanvis, right, than a South Indian. So, we all are from the same country, but we come from different regions, different cultures, and each culture may have its own slangs and the idioms being used, right. So, we should avoid using such slangs or idioms, in intercultural communication. Another no is to be insensitivity. So, if you are not sensitive, so we should avoid to be insensitive. So, insensitivity to the culture and the habits of the other person or the group you are communicating with. We cannot be insensitive. We have to show sensitivity and honor and respect to the culture of the other person to make intercultural communication effective. And then there's a possibility that we ignore the language barrier completely. As I said, intercultural communication may take place amongst the people of different culture. They may know a common language, they may not know, right. Even if they know the common language, there could be certain things which are peculiar to the culture. For example, the slangs, the idioms, the jokes, religious practices, eating habits, etc., etc., right. So, we have to be careful about that, though we know the common language even. And the same way, another no is that we should not ignore, we should ignore, we should not ignore the fact, in fact, or not honoring the fact that the person to whom I am interacting with has a language barrier. He does not speak your language, he does not know your language. That is a possibility when the language barrier is actually there, right. So, and he or she is trying to converse in a commonly known language or non-verbal communication or but any kind of communication. So, we should not ignore that there are language barriers between the people of diverse cultural interacting at a point of time. So, these are the don'ts to make the intercultural communication effective. So now we shall be talking about intercultural versus multicultural and the cross-cultural communication, right. So what is intercultural versus the multicultural communication? So let's understand multicultural or multicultural communication, which means different cultures living together without much interaction or promoting tolerance and getting along, right. Whereas in the intercultural communication, what is happening, so we were interacting, we were trying to put in an effort to understand the culture of the other person, other group, right, and then trying to communicate. Here in multicultural, the people of diverse culture, they are staying together, they are interacting together either at workplace or in the at their home, but uh, they are not so they are not interacting or promoting tolerance and getting along. There is no effort to get along, right. So that situation would be a situation of multicultural communication or multicultural communication, and this type of communication doesn't involve deep connections or interaction between. We just interact for the sake of interaction. We are in a situation we need to interact, right. So there's a compulsion to interact, and we do say hello, hi, whatever we talk, but we really do not try to go deeper into the culture of the other person and understand and try to make the experience more meaningful, more effective, the experience of interacting with each other, right. So there's a lack of efforts on both the ends, on one end, to really spend time in acknowledging, understanding the culture of the other person, right. That is what is the multicultural. So in this process of communicating and interacting with people from different culture background is known a cross cultural background. If we are, other than the multicultural, the other process is the process of communicating and interacting with people from different culture background. So here we put in effort to communicate and interact with people of different culture, the cross cultures, right. So if that is there, this is known as cross culture communication. In multicultural communication, there's no effort being done, and we believe in let others live whatever the way or the culture they come from, and without much interaction, promoting tolerance and getting along. So we do not promote much interaction, we do not promote tolerance, just stay together, it's fine, right. So that's the intercultural. So the intercultural versus that's cross cultural communication. So the difference, as I said, in the cross culture, it involves understanding different culture norms, values, beliefs, as well as adopting one's communication style. Not only that, we are adopting or understanding the values and the beliefs and the practices of the other culture in cross culture. In fact, we are trying to adopt the communication as well, the style, the behavior, to make the communication effective. So we are trying to adopt, people I have seen in many functions and many platforms, if we have an American who can speak English, but to honor our culture, so he may or she may start with namaste, right. So what is that? There's a language barrier, though he doesn't or she doesn't know English, but he is trying not only to understand the culture. They will bow head, they will smile, they will, they will ask us to eat twice, thrice, as we do in India, right. So they may adopt those cultural things or practices, but along with that, an attempt is made to know the communication, adopt the communication style as well and the behavior as well. So this is what is known as cross culture communication. So there are three things in total. One is the intercultural communication, which we just discussed in detail. Another is multicultural, and the third is cross cultural. So if I have to put these three concepts together, I will say in a sense that intercultural communication deals with moderate awareness of cultural differences. So, there is a awareness about the cultural differences at a moderate level. In multicultural communication, it emphasizes upon diversity. Is fine, let you live with your culture, is fine. I am not interested to bother you or to know about you much or your culture much. And in the cross culture is a very broader, is in a broader, wider concept. In cross cultural communication, the concerns interactions between people who have significant cultures and social differences. So, here there is a concern to learn about other, not only about others' culture, but about the communication style as well. So, this is the difference between the three: intercultural communication, multicultural communication, and the cross cultural communication. So, to conclude this, I will say any interaction can transition through these three frameworks of communication: multi, inter, or your cross cultural communication, depending on the behavior of the participants. And mastering these forms of communication, it involves practice, it involves exposure and the adaptation of communication styles to find common ground even without sharing a language, right? We may not know the language, we may not, we to whom we are interacting, we may not share the language. Even then, we are trying to understand so that we could adopt the communication. So, one can adopt his or her own style of speaking and acting to find common grounds even without a common language. For example, expectation of being acknowledged is common across all the culture, irrespective of the culture he or she comes from. So, this is how we can try to adopt the style and try to find the common ground, though we may not know a common language. So, this was the intercultural communication and three other and two more types of communications situations, which is cross cultural and multicultural communication. So, these three frameworks and the communication during or in these three situations, that is what we spoke about in the last few minutes. I hope you were able to gather this. With this, I would like to sign off. Thank you very much.